myself, Kirbasagar, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Applications, Sri Kalisari College, Autonomous Service. Today, and the topic is topic we going to see is domain name systems. That is DNS. DNS means although the DNS programs are referred to web pages, mailboxes, and other resources using the networks. That is example for the DNS is allotting IP addresses for the computers on which they are stored. These addresses are hard for people to remember. Web server to a different machine with a different IP addresses. Everyone needs to be told with a new IP address. Consequently, high-level readable names were introduced in order to decouple machine names from machine addresses. Way back in ARPANET days, there was simply a file that is host docs text that is listed in all computers under the IP address. Every night, all the hosts would fetch them from the site at which it was maintained. For a network of a few hundred large time-sharing machines, this approach worked reasonably well. In ARPANET, the host.txt is a main file in older days, and then for one thing, the size of the file would become too large. However, even more importantly, host name conflicts would occur constantly unless names were centrally managed, something unthinkable in a huge international network due to load and latency. To solve this ARPANET issue and problems, we introduced a domain name system, that is DNS. Is invented in 1983. It has a key part and important things in internet ever since. In maximum, DNS servers is a hierarchical. It's a domain-based naming scheme and distributed database systems for implementing this name scheme. It is primarily used for mapping host names. There is a system name, client name or a server name, host name to a IP address, but can also use it for other purposes. Maximum DNS is defined in RFCs. RFC means request for comment. Request for comments, that is 1034, 1035 and 2181, and further elaborated in many others. The way DNS is used as follows. The DNS is maximum used to map a name onto an IP address, that is a client system, and application programs calls a library procedure. That means some library packages and procedures for the application program, that is called the resolver passing. If in the name as a parameter, resolver passing is for library procedures. The resolver sends a query containing name to a local DNS server, in which looks up the name and returns a response containing the IP address to the resolvers, which then returns into the caller. In maximum DNS, both use UDP and TCP connections. That is, query and response messages send us UDP packets armed with IP addresses. That is paste with IP addresses, and the program can then establish a TCP connection with the host or send it UDP packets. Maximum in DNS server, the query and response messages are sent as UDP packets. The DNS namespace. In general, the DNS namespace can manage a large and constantly changing set of names without any non-trivial problem. In the postal system, name management is done by requiring letters to specify the country, the state or provinces, city, street address, and the name of that. Maximum DNS is compared with the postal system. That is, postal system has a from address and a true address. That is, from address means which country is sending, which state is sending, which city, which street, which name of the address is sending the letter is also it is a similar process of DNS namespace. DNS namespace has a name, address, IP, all the things as a DNS namespace has. For the internet, the top of the naming hierarchy is managed by an organization called ICANN, that is Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. ICANN was created for purpose in 1998 as a part of the maturing of the internet worldwide economic concern. ICANN maximum created for worldwide networks and economic concern. The internet divided into over 250 top level domains. That is, each domain has a many host. Each domain partition into subdomains, and these are further furnished and so on. All these domains can be represented by a tree. The leaves of the tree represents domains that have no subdomains but do contains machines. The leaf domain may contain a single, although the leaf domain can contain a single host, or it may represent a company and contains thousands of hosts. This is the structure of the DNS namespace. This is arrow, com, edu, gov, museum, org, net, au, jp, uk, us, nl. These are the main top level domains. Lower domains are subdomains. That is in com, Cisco and ENG are subdomains. In edu, Washington. For Washington's Washington as a top level domain, CS, ENG robots are subdomains. In org, ACM, IEE. In ACM is a top level domain. Jack, JP are a subdomain. In AU, EDU and UWD are a subdomains. In JP, AC and OO are subdomains. As a AC and OO are top level domains, Kiku, NEC are subdomains. As a Kiku and NEC are top level domains, CS and CSL are subdomains. In NL means Netherlands domain. NL is a top domain. VU and OC are subdomains. VU are top level domain. CS and LZW are subdomains. CS is a top domain. Fits and Newt are subdomains. These are the top level domains and the sub level domains. That is com for commercial, edu for educational organization, gov for governments, org for multinational organizations, nl for Netherlands domains. Maximum top level domains has two flavors, that is generic and countries. Generic domains are included in original domains from 1980s and domains introduced via applications to ICANN. Other generic domains will be added in the future. The country domains include only entry of the every country. Country domains just maintaining the country name as defined in the ISO. And then getting a second level domain such as name of the company.com. That is if we purchase one domain, that is a HCL company purchase for example, HCL company purchases one private domain, that is HCL, and creates a mail ID for employees as employee1@hcl.com. That is HCL is a private domain by a HCL company. That is the example of name of company.coms. These are the domains and internet use and the starting date and the restrictions of the domain levels. That is com for commercial, edu for education institution, gov for government. Both three of them are introduced in 1985. It has commercial has no restrictions, and education institution and government institution has some restrictions. Int means international organization. That is MNC companies. MNC company domains that is started in 1988. It got some restriction. MIL means military domain. Military workers have by some domains. That is started in 1985. It got some restrictions. Net means network providers. That is service providers like Vodafone, Airtel, Jio as network providers. It was started in 1985. It has no restrictions. ORG means non-profit organization. That is simple organizations. Its domain was started in 1985. It has no restriction. And Aero, Biz, Coop, Info, Museum, Name, and for jobs, employment domain is started in 2005. It has some restrictions. And these are the domains and the listed internet news start date and the restrictions. And then in this list, some other domains are here. That is try. We have a household articles, and then animals, plants, body parts, etc. The practice of registering a domain only to turn around and sell it off an interested party at much higher price, even as a name. That is, we are selling the products, selling our products in the online. That is OLX, Quicker is in selling some household articles, plants, and some even household articles are selling. This is called cyber squatting. Each domain is named by the path upward from it to the root. The components are separated by a prius, that is dot. The example for the above concept is, that is, engineering department in Cisco as a eng.cisco.com is the simplest form, rather than old Unix style name as /com/cisco/eng is a difficult one, and eng.cisco.com is an easier one. Notice that is a hierarchical name, means eng.cisco.com does not conflict with potential usage name eng.washington.edu. It's a subdomain for Cisco, which might be used by the English department as a eng means for engineering department eng is at cisco.com. For English department also eng.washington.edu is a edu means is an educational institution, which might be used by the English department of the University of Washington. Domain names can be either absolute or relative, and absolute name always ends with the pair. That is example for absolute name is eng.cisco.com, whereas relative ones does not. Domain names are case sensitive. Domain names are case insensitive. That is, we can provide edu as full lower cases is fine, or first cases upper cases, and remaining are lower cases, and full edu was upper cases, means same thing. So is case insensitive. Component names can be add up to 63 characters. Component names already above told components and components maximum 63 characters is allowed, and full path names does not exceed 250 characters. These are some examples for cs.washington.edu. It's a University of Washington in the US. It has some domain. CS in CS department of University of Washington has buy a domain, that is cs.washington.edu, and then Bridge University IT in the Netherlands can buy a one domain cs.vu.nl, buy a domain name in our country, and then Kyo University in Japan, they buy the name as cs.kyo.ac.jp. And next thing, domain name resource records. Each domain has a single host or top level domain has a set of resource records. These are DNS database. DNS has also a database. For single host, the most common resource record is IP address, but many other kinds of resource record are already exist. When a resolver gives a domain name to DNS, what it gets back are the resources record. These are the 5 tuples used in a domain resource record. That is, first domain name and time to live, class, type, and value. Domain name tells the domain to which record applies. Domain name means, for example, gmail.com. At gmail.com, Gmail is a domain. For each domain, name predicts the domain name. And then time to live means each domain has how much time to stable the record stable, and how much time to leave the domain is to be calculated. The third field is the class. For internet information, class is used. For non-internet information, other codes can be used, but it's practically rarely seen. The type field tells what kind of type, means the domain's type is recorded. There are many kinds of DNS records. The common record type is a MS record. It specifies the name of the host, that is host name of the machine prepared to accept email from the specified domain. It is used because of every machine is prepared to accept email. If someone wants to send mail, for example, bill for example, bill at microsoft.com sending host message to the to another one domain. It's located at microsoft.com's another mail server. We will accept the mx record to provide the information. Another important record is ns record. It's a name server for the domain or subdomains. It is used as the part of the process to look up names, which will describe it shortly. And then DNS has IP address also. IP address has been also allotted, and the IP address and written the name of the corresponding machine. IP address allotted and the IP address is given to the corresponding machines. These are called reverse lookups. And then name servers. In DNS server, last topic is a name server. In theory, a single name server contains the entire DNS database and respond to all queries about it. In practice, server is overloaded. It might be useless. To avoid the problems associated with having single source of information, the DNS namespace is divided into non-overlapping zones, that is non-rewriting, non-overwriting zone. One possible way to divide the namespace is each circled contains some part of the D. That is previous diagrams of top level domain and subdomain domain. Each circled domains are zones. For that is Cisco and ENG are one zone, Washington and ENG are one zone, CS and robot are one zone, and then each circled domains are one zone. Each zone contains one or more name servers. Each zone contains one or more name servers. These are for each zone has a each zone holds a database. The process of looking up a name of the server and finding of the address is called name resolution. The authority record is one that comes from the authority that manages the record and is always correct. Authority records are to contracts to cache records, which may be out of date. That is cache records is out of date records and are also called as temporary records. The next step is to start at the top of the name hierarchy by asking one of the root name. Root means top level of the domain. To contact a root server, each name server must have information about one or more root names. That is a subdomain to find the top level domain's name. The information is normally present in a system configuration file that is loaded into DNS cache when the DNS server is started. There are three technical points to discuss the long scenario. First two technical points are query mechanisms. When the host already seen the cs.vu.in is a send query to local name server. The local name server holds the resolution of the query. That is called recursive query. The local name server is continuing the resolution. Issuing further queries is called the iterative query. Thank you. These are the domain names, domain name systems. That is domain name is allocating IP address, domains, private domains, maintaining private database, private zones, and are all maintaining in a private way and both in a public way. That's all for the domain name servers. Thank you.